settled, feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. So just put your name, campus, organization, and the location that you're based in so we can see where folks are joining us from today. And I'll give folks a minute to get that started. Great. Okay. Yeah, so as folks are doing that, welcome again. Thank you all for joining us for our October Promising Practices Roundtable. Today, we're going to be talking about navigating career pathways for undocumented students. My name is Madeline Villanueva. I'm going to be one of your co-hosts today. I'm the Interim Director of Higher Education here at Immigrants Rising, and so I lead a lot of our higher education work, including coordinating trainings like today. And so I want to give my co-hosts also a quick minute to introduce themselves. So Rocio, can I call on you first?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Rocio Preciado, she, her, hers. I am currently based in the Bay Area, and I'm the Career Pathways Innovation Strategist with the organization for over 10 years now. And I'm very excited to be providing additional information about some of the ways to support folks in the career pathways, as now I get to work very closely with my colleague, Jesus, to bring on a lot of information and resources to students as to how they can pursue a career independent of immigration status. So I'll pass it on to Jesus now.
Thank you, Rocio, and welcome everyone. My name is Jesus. My pronouns are he, him. I am the Career Pathways Manager at Immigrants Rising, and I've been part of the organization for a little bit over 8 years now. And I'm also very excited to talk about navigating career pathways for undocumented students. I'll be facilitating today's panel session, so I'm so excited to introduce a panel of amazing speakers and yeah, just sharing the excitement along with my co-hosts. Turning it back to Madeline now.
Thank you both. Yeah, and we're excited to have this conversation with you both today and with our panel. And thank you folks for introducing yourselves in the chat. I see we have a lot of different kind of institutions represented across the state, and I think I even saw a few out-of-state people. So welcome. So please keep introducing yourself if you haven't had the chance, but I'm going to get us started on the rest of our presentation for today. And so just quick reminder, these are our Promising Practices Roundtable. They're a series of virtual meetings we have mostly for California educators to get the tools and strategies they need to support undocumented student success. We actually only have one more session for the fall semester because the year is moving by so quickly, and you can get more information about that in our new Promising Practices Roundtable webpage. Which if I can get the support of somebody on our team to throw in the chat, the link for that. And if you are joining us from outside of California, we have a few state-specific things we're going to be talking about, but hopefully some of the strategies that you hear from us and for the panelists today can be replicated to the state you're working in as well. That went to the let me just make sure this is still going. I'll not click there. Okay. And then also want to make a quick announcement that the California DREAM Act application, or CADA, is open. Hopefully folks have heard about this already. It opened in October 1, and we'll have the priority deadline of March 2, 2026 again. And do want to just uplift a few resources we have that we will be sharing with you all to help your students navigate the process. Including checklists to navigate the application itself and the Cal Grant GPA verification process. And we also collaborated with First Gen Empower to create this advising guide, actually, if you're working with undocumented and mixed status students, to help them understand their options when it comes to financial aid and kind of navigate that process too. So we'll share this presentation with you all so you can get the link as well. And then before we also get started, I do want to make a quick plug that AB 540 is turning 24 this year. AB 540 was signed into law in October 12, 2001, and so 24 years old. And so we're also doing a lot of celebrations of AB 540 and the pathways it's opened up for undocumented students here in California, with like a digital campaign with a toolkit that we've shared with folks. And we are also engaging people on ways to like protect and strengthen AB 540 through an engagement form. Again, we'll be sharing all of this links with folks when we share the slide, but just want to highlight that for you all. And then I'll actually be passing it to the CEO at this point to go over what to expect for today's session.
Thank you, Madeline. So for today's session, some of the things that we're hoping to achieve by the end of today is we hope that you have the opportunity to understand some of the unique challenges undocumented students face around graduate options and even post-graduation. I know that times can be uncertain, things are always changing. So we're gonna go ahead and go over some of those challenges that students face. We're also going to go over and provide you with some insights of the different options that undocumented students face and may come across when it comes to choosing majors and navigating career pathways. We're also going to give you access to career-specific resources to be able to help you support undocumented students in their journey of navigating career options and career decisions. And we're going to be exposing you to campus and organizational promising practices that increase career support for undocumented students through an amazing panel that we've put together for you all today. Now, as a reminder, we do have a raffle winner from the Promising Practice in September. So we want to congratulate Allison B from CSU Fresno. Now, if you would like to be part of the raffle and receive a $25 gift card, all you need to do is submit our post-evaluation after today's Promising Practice Roundtable. And at the end, you're going to have the option to include your name and your email. And by providing your name and email, you will be added onto the raffle for a chance to win a $25 gift card. So congrats, Allison, for your $25 gift card. And so for today, a quick overview of today. So we went ahead and did our welcome and our check-in and a little bit of our grounding. So thank you to all of you who are continuing to introduce yourselves in the chat. If you just joined, please feel free to continue to share. And we're then going to go into an overview of career support for undocumented students. And then we're going to transition into the Promising Practices panel. That will be led by Jesus. And then we're going to go into building collective solutions breakouts. So there's going to be an opportunity for those who would like to be part of the breakout sessions, share some ideas, connect with other folks. There'll be an opportunity to be able to join a breakout session. And then we're going to transition into our closing. Now, we do have a quick check-in icebreaker question for you all, and you can use the Slido app using the following code or the QR code. So the question that we have for you for today is, how have you redefined what career success looks like when supporting undocumented students? I'm going to go ahead and add the website in the chat. Give you a couple minutes to share. Let's see. We have some people shared finding them opportunities that maximize their skill set, even if not directly in their field. Very great. Through collaboration and creativity, looking into different creative ways to be able to provide opportunities for folks to gain skills and job experience. Being able to pursue the field that they're interested in and obtaining a job in that related field. Okay. Entrepreneurship. Expanding the definition of what career success means. And finding accessible pathways through independent contracting. Providing optimism of potential and focusing on what they can do with their skills. Finding purpose. And even those who haven't focused on undocumented student career support, we're very grateful that you're here. Advocating and awareness. Very great. Thank you all so much for sharing those insights. Building the capacity of students to be receptive to entrepreneurship and independent contracting. Often they see it as non-traditional. Find transferable skills they have and encourage them to endorse themselves. Great. Instead of defining success, I'm trying to remember the other focus on the students. Yeah, very great. Focusing on what the students can control. Thank you all so much for your incredible insights and everything you all shared is some of the areas that we want to think about. How do we redefine what career success looks like to be able to give students the sense that continuing through their education, continuing through college persistence is still going to give them something in return. And what that return might look a little bit different than what the traditional job trajectory of other students might look like. So thank you all for everything that you've shared. I'm now going to go ahead and go into an overview of career support for undocumented students. So if we can go to the next slide. Now, as some of you may know from working directly with students, or as some of you might will come to learn, is that there are key challenges that impact undocumented students when it comes to pursuing their career goals and their career aspirations. And one of them is the lack of work authorization, which limits their career options, their ability to just go and apply for a job that might be closely tied to what they studied. Then that also comes the anxiety and the uncertainty about the future. That anxiety increases, not knowing what's going to happen. Was the education trajectory, the work, the effort, the sacrifice worth it? And also the uncertainty of the unknown with the policies constantly changing. And then we have limited awareness of resources and mentors. We've come across people who are making and building the way into new ways of pursuing a career regardless of immigration status. And so oftentimes there's that limited awareness of resources and mentors. And also lack of clarity as to how to navigate less traditional pathways, especially when it's a pathway that might not be as common as many of us might be used to seeing or experiencing. Next slide. And so we want to highlight that there are folks who have been able to pursue careers and who are thriving and have been able to find success and redefine what career success can look like. And so here we have two stories. One of them, Norma Castañeda, and the other one, Chris Mercado. Norma Castañeda, I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about Norma through her quote here. Norma shared, as immigrants, we've been resilient our whole lives, and that creates persistence that we bring along with us to the business world. You bring that resilience from your immigration status, and you have the mentality that, yes, I can do it. It's going to take a while, but it is possible. We also have Chris Mercado, who is founder and CEO of Grand Answers, who also shared, growing a business gave me what status took away for so long: financial security, a decent place to live, a sense that my talent is treasured. Entrepreneurship became my empowerment, and I am one of many examples that being paperless does not mean you're powerless. So I really want to highlight these stories to be able to see the resiliency. And as somebody mentioned in the reflections with the what does career success look like for you, there was somebody who shared being able to leverage the talents and the skills that people have and leverage them into independent contracting or other options. And so these are two examples of people who have been able to find it within their skills, within their own lived experience, the opportunity to make and create something for themselves. Slide. Now, when it comes to providing support for undocumented students, there are many different career pathways. And it's oftentimes difficult to be able to navigate and for students to be able to know what that could potentially look like. There could be information from understanding what a potential traditional employment can look like, freelancing, there's entrepreneurship, there's the opportunity of graduate school, there's global work. So we won't go into all of those practical resources and different ways in which that could and may be possible for people. But what I am going to share is I will be sharing with you all our career activity groups. We do have career activity groups that we've put together for students out in the United States who are interested in exploring what a potential career could look like based on their major. Our deadline to apply is tomorrow, so I did go ahead and share the link in the chat, in which folks will be able to explore all of these potential options as to what that could look like for their potential career. Next slide. Now, some of the things that I would like to highlight and additional things that we are going to be going over in these sessions deeply for students is going to be entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship as an income generation opportunity for anyone, regardless of immigration status. So we do have resources for you educators to be able to learn and dive into the content, as well as content that we're going to be providing to students through our career activity groups. If we can go to the next slide. We're also going to be diving into professional licensing. What could potential professional licensing look like amongst and from different careers? Which professional licensing now makes it easier for people to apply for business and professional licensing through SB 1159 and AB 2184. And so we've also included some resources that you can look into and explore and learn for yourself. And then next slide. We're also going to be introducing students to information around graduate school, since we do know that students can pursue advanced degrees and access some state aid, some institutional aid, and private funding. So those are topics that we're also going to be diving into for students through the career activity groups, and also some resources that we encourage you to look into as educators that you might want to bring into your classroom or your work. Next slide. And then we're also going to be introducing students into employment-based sponsorship options. Like, what does that look like for folks' careers and major choices and decisions? So we're also going to be diving into some content, but if you as an educator would like to learn more about some of these options, we've also included some resources that you can explore and look into and bring into some of your services that you have within your school or organization. Next slide. And we do have additional resources that we would like to share with you. And one of them the one that we mentioned was entrepreneurship, which as some of you may know, a lot of our work revolves around introducing folks to other options. So we do have a resource guide helping students get their own docu-hustle on Introduction to Entrepreneurship lesson plan that you can access, bring into your classroom. We have outlined a set of workshop objectives that you can identify and bring into your school settings, into your dream clubs, and even provide some sort of incentives to be able to go through this process yourself. And then we also have the Dreamer Service Incentive Grant. So one of the things that was mentioned was, and one of the things that we like to reiterate within the organization is the importance of having a hands-on experience. There's the knowledge, but then there's the practical knowledge. And so the Dreamer Incentive Grant does just that. Folks are able to apply to the Dreamer Incentive Grant and are required to complete at least 150 hours per semester or 100 hours per quarter. And they'll be able to receive a financial incentive for being part of this program. They do need to submit the California Dream application and be eligible to be part of the Dreamer Incentive Grant. But we do have a list of links and resources that you can access as well to be able to share with students. And the other resource that we have is guidelines for inclusive fellowships. There is a huge need and gap to be able to provide a lot of that hands-on experience that undocumented students need to be able to be in a competitive workforce, to be able to be in a competitive setting when it comes to post-graduating options. And so if you in your institution or in your program or your organization are interested in thinking about how to develop an inclusive fellowship for undocumented students to be able to provide them the hands-on experience and the financial support, we do have a guide that you can explore and look into, which will provide you with guidelines and some recommendations as to how to go about developing an inclusive fellowship or even identifying ways to be able to present some of these opportunities to your organizations. Now, we're going to transition into our promising practices panel. So we went very briefly over some of the information, the content, the information and resources. But there's nothing better than hearing directly from people who are at the forefront, doing the work, working with students, providing some of this career advice. And for that, We have this incredible panel. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Jesus to do our introduction of our panel and take it on from there.
Thank you, Rocio. And when we were starting the Zoom, I was reviewing some of the people's responses, and it looks like we have a pretty diverse group of people joining in the space and doing incredible work in their own spaces. So welcome everyone. And I also want to welcome our amazing panel. We have a group of a very diverse group of people that work in different spaces, both in institutions and organizations. One of them is like a national organization. So I also want to give some time to our panelists to introduce themselves. So if we can go ahead and maybe get started with Carolina, then go to Blanca, and then Darwin, for us to just share like our name, our pronouns, our role, and the institution and organization that we're a part of.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Carolina Yarnazian Limon. My pronouns are she, her, hers, ella. My role is I'm the Dream Resource Center liaison at Los Angeles City College. I am both a counselor and the coordinator for the program, and I'll pass it on.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Blanca Villagomez, pronouns she, her, hers, and I am currently the assistant director at the Dream Center at UC Irvine. And I'll pass it on to Darwin.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm sorry if there is a little noise in advance. My house is under construction. So I am Darwin Velasquez. I am the manager of Scholar Support Program at College Track, which is a national organization. Sorry for the noise. I will try to find a better space.
No worries. Thank you, Darwin. So my first question for the panel is, what are some concrete examples your school or department has implemented to help undocumented students explore careers outside of traditional opportunities? And maybe we can start with Carolina.
Sure. Thank you so much. At LA City College, I'll share very frankly, we kept experiencing in the Dream Center when we would introduce the topic of entrepreneurship to our students and when we would talk about generating income. And when we would discuss entrepreneurship or options like that, our students' eyes would just, they just looked really nervous and scared. So to be quite honest with you, it was really an effort to solve an issue, right? Which is our students just don't know what to do, even though we might have all these wonderful resources, right? Share all this information. We wanted to give them a really hands-on and concrete experience. So that's why I mentioned collaboration and creativity, because we connected with our career technical education program, which if you have not done that on your campus, I absolutely encourage you. They have funding, usually a good amount of funding. So what we discovered with the career technical education program is that they had an entrepreneurship bootcamp program. And what we ended up doing is with our knowledge and our expertise with the undocumented component, we were able to work together to develop a program that was a bootcamp program that specifically geared for undocumented students. We also identified a wonderful faculty member that would teach the program. So we tailored that program now to really be supported for specifically undocumented and immigrant students. We now are in our second year or this last summer was the second year that we offered this program, and it was very successful in spite of everything that happened this summer. It was virtual and had a lot of additional wonderful components that assisted our undocumented students to not just create their business from idea to launch, but also allowed them to also market themselves through a pitch fest that we did at the very end, which was like a Shark Tank style pitch activity that they did at the very end. And so the audience got to vote, the students got to win, they all got certificates. That's another huge component, is that all of the students got certificates from our non-credit department. So this was a cross-divisional collaboration with student services, academic affairs, and our CTE program. So I think collaborating was a huge component in making that happen. And I can go into it more if you'd like.
Wow, thank you, Carolina, for sharing a lot of the amazing work that you're doing at your campus. And like you said, it's collaboration and really like communicating across departments and across the institution too, right? It takes a village. And now I want to turn it over to Blanca, who's actually doing something similar in the University of Irvine, of California, Irvine, with the fellowship program. So, Carolina, do you mind sharing a little bit about how the work that you do also centers around like supporting students through non-traditional pathways too?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was for me or Carolina. Jesus, did you mean Carolina or me?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Blanca.
Oh, okay. Thank you, first of all, for the question. I think, Carolina, hearing your experiences, right, about that initial shock from students' confusion, that is something that we continue to experience today, despite having implemented, a year-long fellowship program called the Dream Project Fellowship Program at UC Irvine. We still encounter those experiences with students, and um, students oftentimes believe that there is a blueprint, a guide, a 10-step guide on how to go about their career planning, how to get a job, and how to live a happy life. And that just is not true, right? I wish there was. So one of the things that we use this phrase quite a lot at our Dream Center, we call it unscripted journeys, right? Because we believe that students are the authors of their own narratives. We believe that no path is linear. So we center storytelling, strategic planning, community building, and joy, right? We cannot forget about joy during this process. Career planning, career success, career readiness, all of that elicits these emotions that are, I don't know, it creates some stress and pressure for our students, right? They're balancing quite a lot. So at the Dream Center, what we've done for the last 6 years, we've collaborated with UCI faculty and UCI staff to launch this mentorship program. It's a year-long fellowship program that is very holistic. It's meant for both undocumented college students, but also undocumented graduate students, and really anyone who has been impacted by immigration. So we've actually expanded our definition, right, of who is eligible. So it's not just folks with an undocumented status, but it's also students from mixed status families who are impacted as well, right? Students with and without work authorization. And we provide students with a stipend, right? So financial support to reduce some of that financial stress. We provide them with mentorship, with professional development training, and also networking opportunities. So they get matched with a UCI faculty or staff that becomes their mentor for the entire year. And each mentor is responsible for applying to the fellowship program with what's called a project site. And these are very diverse project sites all across campus. So we have sites in biology, sites in nursing, sites in sociology, education studies. And students are placed there and they receive, one-on-one mentorship, hands-on experience. And the really cool part about this experience as well is that they get to enroll in a course, right? And every quarter they receive workshops on professional development skills, on community building with each other. And what's really innovative on our part based on student feedback is that students have actually voiced that they want to take lead. So we actually bring on 4 student coordinators every year to lead this professional development curriculum. So they are really the masterminds behind this entire fellowship. We obviously provide some mentorship to them as well with project management and event planning and curriculum building, but they really are the experts. They are the ones leading the ideas, collaborating with individuals, bringing on alumni, bringing on community partners, and making this student-centered. We are there to offer guidance and support, but it's really about being in alignment with what students want.
Thank you, Blanca. And thank you both, Blanca and Carolina, for sharing the importance of professional development, mentorship, and also like one-on-one, right? With like meeting people that perhaps it's a career that they might be interested in, right? So I think that's something really, really powerful too. Darwin, so now if you want to share just concrete examples that you've done within college track as well.
Yeah, of course. So innovation right on the get-go and talking to all of you from my garage. So hopefully all of you don't mind. Um, but essentially, to add what my colleagues have already mentioned, what we have implemented at College Track, and we are in a unique position because College Track, it's a college access, college completion type of organization at the national level. And so what we have done in the past is we have built a net expertise in both on the humanitarian side. The point being is that our scholars, all the way from high school, starting in ninth grade through college graduation, have their
Darwin,
legal
Oh,
questions.
Darwin, I think
Darwin,
we're losing you. The internet's a little bit spotty. But how about like while you look for a place with a stronger connection, we can go ahead and continue with the panel, and you can also include your response on the chat while you look for a place. But yeah, maybe we can continue with the panel,
Yeah,
and
please.
then you can put your response on the chat.
Can you hear me
And
better now?
we'll circle back to you. Thank you, Darwin. All right, folks. So my next question is for Carolina. Um, and my question is, many undocumented students ask, what's even possible for me, right? Especially a lot of the students that are graduating now don't have work authorization, don't have DACA, so they might be asking themselves, what's even possible after I graduate? So how do you introduce and frame non-traditional career paths, like entrepreneurship, without making them feel like second best options, right? And by non-traditional career paths, I mean like a 9 to 5, right, with work authorization and benefits, right? So yeah, how do you approach that?
Thank you for this question. It is, I think, so critical. And as a counselor, I am both a coordinator for the program and a counselor. So as a counselor, I am seeing students, for appointments one-on-one, where we have these big conversations. And sometimes it's scary and difficult conversations of what am I going to do, right? After, and I think it is a delicate one to approach, to be really honest with you. So if there's any career advisors in the room, and I did see that a lot of folks were coming from career areas, I'm so glad you are here because it is a delicate one to address. I do believe it's really important for us to be realistic with our students and transparent with our students, but also to really educate ourselves on what the opportunities are, so that we are coming from a place of knowledge versus a place of fear with our students. Also, there is a lot of opportunity, right? We are talking here. I mean, Rocio just shared so many wonderful resources and opportunities, right? But if we are unaware of them, we could be coming from a place more of just lack of knowledge, and maybe that can transpire to the student like fear. The other few components for this one that I would share is the economy is changing. The gig economy is growing. People's preference for work environment is changing as well. I think the pandemic did that a lot for folks. So people prefer flexibility, autonomy. The gig economy is a great way to do that. So I think sharing that and also backing that with examples of individuals that we might know that are doing these things, kind of like what Rocio did, where she shared, these wonderful experiences of individuals that engage and were not only successful, but also feel empowered. I think that's the angle to really come at this from. And to be really honest with you, I use my mom as an example all the time. I'm formerly undocumented. And my mom started her own landscaping business when she was undocumented. And today she still has this business. So it is important to also share with students that it's not just undocumented individuals doing entrepreneurship and owning their own business and doing independent contracting. Everyone can do that. And I think that was shared earlier today. And I think with concrete examples, the message just comes stronger. So sometimes I use very clear examples like that, where, obviously I know disclosing like that is not available for everyone, but if we can share, in resources like the Immigrant Business Hub or, wonderful other resources that we have available and through this community, I think it can really send a very strong message. And then obviously the resources. So I know I mentioned, the part to highlight about the gig economy, I think the examples that are really critical and the resources highlighting all of that. And I will tell you one last thing. Sorry if it's a little bit too long, but I remember coming to my mentor with this question of like, what am I going to do? It's this was me as a student, maybe I was 18 years old. And my own mentor told me, well, are you ready? Are you ready today to go into the workforce? Or are you ready today to do this work that you want to do? And the real answer was I wasn't, so the message of also continuing with your education so that you can be prepared. I think that's also really important, especially right now when our students might be losing a little bit of motivation, and we might need to give that a little extra push. It's a bit of that different strategy, but it can work with some students. So obviously we try all the strategies, right, with our students. Some things work with some things work with others, but those are some of the pieces that I've kind of figured out for how to kind of approach this in a way that's coming from a strengths-based angle instead of a weakness-based,
Thank you, Carolina. And yes, definitely. What you said is like, we're all innovative, right? And I think that's something we have to also share with our students. Sometimes we already have all these talents, but it's also just like bridging that awareness for students to be like, hey, perhaps you already do this and you can also profit from it, right? And we're all creative in many different ways. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So now moving on to Blanca. So the sustaining of a program obviously takes a village, as we said a little bit earlier in a previous question. So can you share what collaborations and partnerships have strengthened and sustained your program?
Yes, absolutely. I love what Carolina mentioned, about storytelling. And that's something that we use quite a lot in our fellowship as well. And we believe that community building and storytelling are essential when, along with collaboration, right? But all of that is essential when you're leading a very extensive, complex, dynamic program that has so many moving pieces. And folks in Immigrants Rising know that very well based on all the services that y'all lead. And you too, Carolina, balancing all these roles. We understand that this process requires strategy, but also sensitivity and tact. So we believe that community is capital, right? So every year we do recruit UCI faculty and staff, like I mentioned, from diverse areas of campus, but it wasn't always that easy, right? We didn't always have this robust program that it's what it is now. Now we have a website, we have a beautiful webpage, where you can learn more about it. Now we have more professional staff, but it wasn't always like that. So really getting the buy-in from faculty and staff has been extremely important. We rely not just on them, but also our alumni and our community partners. We've actually, part of the Saturday Academies that we have in this fellowship program, we've actually invited undocumented entrepreneurs to come back and talk about their businesses. We've actually paid undocumented entrepreneurs, right, to teach our students those skills, to deliver pitches, and Shark Tank style. We've done that before. We encourage students to think beyond the bubble that they exist right now in college, to dream big, especially in a world that convinces you to stay small. So empowerment is extremely important and reminding students that they have that agency. So getting support from mentors, from staff and stakeholders that are aligned in that mission has been important, right? Because alignment is everything when it comes to helping students with their career planning. Our mentors and our stakeholders have helped us lead panels, lead our annual mock interviews. They've prepped students with their capstone poster presentations every spring. So, and they've also been able to help us with funding. So we're in a position where In the last 2 years, our fellowship program has been funded by the Office of the President, but actually in the past, we always used a crowdfunding model. So we relied on the funding from the departments themselves, right? And that allows us to give students a stipend. In the past, the stipend was about $4,600, and now it's increased to $7,200. So, I think we talk a lot about legacy in our work. And I think this conversation is very timely because we were just talking about legacy with our team yesterday. And we want to leave a legacy of community behind. We want that to spread all across campus. We want it to be infectious, contagious. We want students to know, faculty and staff to know that the Dream Center alone is not responsible for supporting the success of undocumented students. It is never just our sole responsibility. It is a collective responsibility, and one that should incentivize them to become advocates as well, not just us.
Yes, definitely echoing that. It's a collective responsibility and it shouldn't just be put at the responsibility for the Dream Resource Centers. Definitely echoing that. And also the importance of story sharing, right? Storytelling and exposing students to also know that like it's possible and sharing lived experiences. So very powerful. Thank you, Blanca. And moving on to Darwin. So, Darwin, we often walk a fine line between encouragement and caution, right? So, how do you balance helping students dream big while also equipping them to realistically assess risk? Some decisions that may be risky include like applying for an I-10 or disclosing their status when networking and seeking contracting opportunities, or exploring employment sponsorship options, right? So how do you encourage students to dream big while also assessing them to assess, like while also equipping them to assess risk?
Yeah, of course. Just checking for audio. Are you able to hear me a little bit better now?
Yes, Darwin, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for working with me on that. So, this is where alluding to the point that I was making before, right? Um, this is where it is so handy for us to have the legal partnerships that we have with private firms because it takes this weight off of our shoulders from get answering this question um directly with students and families ultimately, right? And so that's why we offer these legal consultations. And it's not just one legal consultation. Like our students are very privileged in a way because they can meet with an attorney as many times as they possibly can, so that they have legal advice from a professional in the sector that they want to receive advice from, right? So for us, we that makes us feel a lot better because it alleviates that weight from advising students. But we also have conversations with students about that there is risk to basically everything we do in life. And through those one-on-one conversations, we encourage our students that, this is just one aspect of their life and career, that when they're contracting or finding opportunities, um, that this doesn't define them of who they are or who they're going to be. And so it is very critical that we also have implemented um, that entrepreneurial mindset from high school, because what we dream of our students is for them to graduate with not only a business plan but also a business model so that they hit the ground running. Because what we started noticing with our students was that it was they graduated college, and because we had that population shift from DACA majority to undocumented, they were starting to reach out to us like, so now what? Like, how do I get started on this? So we felt behind in the process, and that's where we started implementing the entrepreneurship pathways to start working with our students one-on-one coaching, but also that legal consultation piece hand in hand from high school, so that they have through high school, through college, to have options. And I think Carolina made this point of approaching the situation from a position of strength, so that they have years ahead, as opposed to just, I have this degree and now what? The other point I want to make is that we emphasize to students too that because many students continue to ask us, I don't have a social, I don't see hope. Why is education worth it for me? And for a while, we did not have, we're still working on the answer, to be honest with all of you. But what we now tell students is that, look, like, this is a professional area where you will become an expert on. And not only that, but they, with a college degree minimum, they become professionals anywhere in the world. And so for us, it opens, we explain to scholars that it opens doors not only in this country, but also worldwide, regardless, where we acknowledge that a college degree from a U.S. institution is extremely prestigious outside the United States. And on top of that, you add 2 languages to that. And so to that point of directly answering your question, we feel better that these type of matters, our legal team is able to meet with our scholars. And of course, if they're minors, with their families too, because they also have many, many questions about around this topic. And I leave it at there.
Thank you, Darwin. And yeah, I think to the point that also Blanca mentioned earlier, like really just like from a strength-based approach, right? Like really approaching students that way and highlighting that they already come in with a lot of skills and assets. And a lot of us students already are like bilingual, or some of them grew up like translating documents or helping our parents, right, with legal documents. So a lot of them already have these skills that that could be transferable, right? And I think it's just highlighting that. And also something that college track does really good is planting the seed from a very young age, like high school, and really tracking that up until college and beyond, right? So I think that's something really good that college track is doing, and talking about like business plans and do I need an I-10? All those different things that could be confusing for a college student, let alone also a high school student. So it's really good that you're planting the seed early on so that once they do get to a point where they're like, I want to generate income for myself, they already have the foundation, right? So now a question for the whole panel, and if we can keep the responses to about a minute. But the question that I have for everyone is, what advice do you have for for institutions or staff that are just beginning to build career pathway services that are inclusive for undocumented students? What advice would that be? And maybe we can start with, let's start with Blanca, just to mix it up a bit. And then maybe we'll go to Carolina and then Darwin.
Yeah, of course. Um, I mean, there's so much that I can say, but I'll try to sum it up in a minute. As I'm sure you've heard from all the panelists today and from your own experiences, you know that this work can be heavy at times, right? It's complex and requires a lot of strategic planning. I think understanding that it's dynamic, that it can evolve, and that it requires holistic approaches is important, because you can outsource when possible, right? It doesn't always have to rely or depend on you solely. That burden is quite heavy, and we just can't do it, right? If anything, today we've learned that community is absolutely necessary. So relying on your own networks to help you out, and having realistic expectations with yourselves as well, because it's very easy to feel afflicted and feel helpless when we don't have all the answers for students. And and I love what Darwin said. It's like that answer is still evolving. We don't have all the answers. And I think that transparency and honesty with students is often most helpful, rather than trying to sugarcoat it, right? We are always assertive and transparent because we are trying to co-create this planning with them. And we're trying to be, collaborative partners with our students. So just reminding yourself that it's definitely worth it, this work, but you don't have to do it alone.
Thank you so much, Blanca. That was amazing. it's wonderful being in this space. Obviously, there's a lot. Also, I'm trying to think, how do I narrow it down? But I love what the panelists shared, and I think maybe something that I think is important, and I shared a little bit earlier, is to get informed. You know, if we don't know about the rules from the state, right, about professional licensing, do we know some of the aspects of that? It's good to do research alongside with the student, like Blanca said, co-create with the student, support the student in that journey. I think getting informed is something we can take as we're talking about collective responsibility, even if we're not the DRC, whoever, right? It is still our responsibility as a member of the institution, of the agency, the organization, to learn this information, because we're serving those students too, right? So I think that part, promoting existing resources is an easy one that we can also do, you know, especially if you're in a space like a career center. Maybe you don't have all the information, but you can promote the existing services, exactly like what was shared earlier, and just starting small, even connecting with your business department. Especially if you're in an institution, hey, can we do a workshop on entrepreneurship? Something small where you can, you know, you can scale that later on if that's something you're able to do. But starting small, getting educated on some of the information that's out there, that is a lot. I think is a good way to get started.
Darwin.
Oh, thank you. A lot of things I can say, but under a minute, I'll just list a few. Make sure you take care of yourself, and you're not alone in this process. It is very easy to be super stressed out, but find your people, find your partners. I'll also mention that uh, don't feel bad if your organization or your institution is not up to the level where you wish it would be. But take it one step at a time, right? Like, for example, I have been privileged to be at College Track and develop what we have in place for our students for more than 7 years now. And so set out like quick wins and yearly milestones so that you're not in a position to having to resolve everything at once. I also mentioned to be flexible around innovation. What I mean by that is that we did a data audit, and we realized that what we were providing to our scholars was getting outdated because it was primarily for DACA recipients. And then we had to reimagine completely what it would look like to support a new generation of scholars who unfortunately do not have DACA. And so for us, that was crucial. Lastly, there is a lot of great community work out there. And if you haven't already, work with Dreamers Roadmap. They just redefined their app to make it more user-friendly and undocumented friendly, so that scholars are taking that agency to also apply to as much external funding as possible. There is a lot of dollars out there, and that app is a tool to help scholars identify external opportunities.
Thank you, Darwin, and thank you to the rest of our panelists. And I really just want to highlight that talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not, right? And I think that's where we come in as professionals, as career staff, where we really just come in and really help students, right, reach their career goals, reach their aspirations, so that they're able to really just fulfill what they want to do, right? So thank you so much for everyone for sharing just all the wealth of resources and social capital, career capital that you have. And it was an honor really just talking with all of you. And now I'll transition back to Madeline, but if folks want to add their contact information on the chat, feel free to do so that folks can reach out to you if they have any additional questions. Again, thank you to our panel.
Great, thank you all. We actually will be transitioning to Rocio for the next part. But want to invite folks to do a lot of emojis. I think appreciations, we're seeing that already for all of our panelists. You all really shared a lot of good insights on what support, this career support can look like, right? Depending on the institution that we're working with. So let me transition it to Rocio at this point and get on with the rest of our agenda.
Thank you all. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Jesus. And I definitely learned a lot, and I will likely be following up after this with some of you to learn even more about your programming. So now we're going to have an opportunity to go into breakout groups. I think there's a lot of wealth of knowledge, advice, different perspectives, and ways to share collective solutions as it pertains to career access. And so we're going to go ahead and go into breakout groups so that you all can have an opportunity to discuss the following questions in your breakout group section. And I'm also going to be adding them in the chat. So we're going to be having 3 to 4 people per group. And so these are the questions that we have for you. So how does career support look like on your campus or department? What challenges have you faced in providing inclusive career support? What opportunities, ideas are you taking from this session? And what are some next steps that you would like to implement? And Madeline will be setting up our breakout group, and we're going to give you all around 10 minutes in the breakout group section where they're going to come back, do some share out and share some resources as well.
Okay, we've opened the rooms. Hopefully folks are able to join. Okay, is everybody in a breakout?
Yeah, I think everyone is.
Wrap up our Just gonna wrap up our meeting for today with some closing and some additional resources as well. Before we do that, we actually would love if you could let us know how this session went for you by completing our evaluation, either using the QR code on the screen, or we can throw the link in the chat if I can get support for that from one of the team members. Again, you will get a chance to be entered in a raffle if you include your full name and email address at the end of the form. The form is anonymous for the most part, in that we're not going to be linking your name or your contact information with the feedback that you have. It'll only be used for the raffle. So I'll give folks like a minute or so to go ahead and do that. And then let me just check the comments for anything. Thank you, Rocio, for throwing that in the chat. We do also follow up with all of the resources, resources, materials, and recording from the session to all registrants, and that's housed in a Google Doc. So you will have access to all of that after this session too. But I'll give folks a minute or so to do the evaluation for us. And we'll collect a lot of the resources also shared in the chat so that we can share that with all registrants. Okay, hopefully folks were able to grab the evaluation link and are starting or finishing up completing that, but I'm going to move on to the next final slides that we have. As Rocio mentioned, we are launching some career activity groups hosted by I believe Jesus, but these are kind of like virtual cohorts for undocumented students to explore like a career field with other folks. There's specific industries that the groups will be focused on that's listed here on the screen, including health and medicine, entrepreneurship, and technology. And then the deadline to sign up for it is actually tomorrow, October 17. I believe it's a very easy sign up form. So folks still have a chance to do that. We'll throw that link again in the chat just so folks are able to grab it and share it with any students in their network who's looking for this type of support. And then do also want to make one last call out for our final Promising Practices Roundtable of the semester. Next month in November, we're going to be focusing on the California DREAM Act specifically and strategies to support students in applying, as well as to help students kind of like navigate and understand their options for financial aid. And then folks can sign up for that in the link here in the screen again, and we'll throw that in the chat if that's possible from the team members. And then that's all that we kind of have for today. I do also want to share all of our panelists and host email addresses if folks would like to reach out to connect further. Again, I wanted to thank Blanca, Carolina, and Darwin for all the amazing work that they're doing in their own spaces and for taking the time to share it with us. Please reach out to them. I know that they all shared that they're open to connecting to get a little bit more insights on how they're doing the work and potentially bring it back to your own campus and organization. And so I'll leave this screen up for a little bit, but thank you all for joining us today. Really grateful for all the work that you're doing, and hopefully you're taking a lot of ideas from this session to provide that career support, right? And what's the next pathway for our undocumented students. Hopefully we'll see you in our November session, but if not, we'll see you in one of our other spaces. And yeah, and we'll be in touch. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day. Bye. Thank you, Carolina. Good to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Okay, let me just stop sharing.